Good morning, folks, and welcome to Discover Your Future 2021. So today we're kicking off with our first keynote speakers of Enterprise. So we've got on some brilliant guests today. We've got Scott Russell, owner of Paddy and Scott's. We've got Clare Friel, owner of a marketing agency as well. And we're going to bring on Clare to talk to us a little bit more about all of her fantastic world and inspire you about enterprise and entrepreneurship. So over to Clare.
Thank you, Jordan. Good morning, everyone. I am the founder of Friel, who are a marketing agency based in Ipswich. I also am co-founder of a company called Lavida. So what Lavida is we are starting out as a television company, and we also manage influencers. So I'm sure you guys all know what influencers are. The way it works is when you see these influencers online and they've got these brand deals, we work with the brands that work with them and we source that for them. So I wanted to talk to you about your careers today and my career as well, and how I've got to where I am now. And I think firstly, your career is a journey and not a destination. So when I was at school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I left. You kind of know what you're good at and know what you're not good at. And I feel like we try and pigeonhole ourselves into things, but I think the biggest takeaway from my time at school was that I should have really looked at what my skill set was and tried to find a career around that, rather than looking at the career and trying to make myself fit. My school background, I am dyslexic, so I did struggle quite a lot at school with kind of written work and reading, but actually it turned out to be quite a blessing because I see things differently. So I'll probably sit in meetings and see things in a more creative fashion than some other people. So it's actually turned out to be a blessing in my career. So I started out, I got my GCSEs, did fairly well in them, and then I went on to do A-levels at Northgate in Ipswich. So my life kind of changed dramatically at sixth form. So in my first year of sixth form, I completed that, and then I fell pregnant with my daughter in the year between my first and second. So not only was I completing my A-levels, my life was about to change forever as well. So I had my daughter, sat my A-levels, but didn't get the grades that I wanted. So I then repeated one term to get the grades that I wanted. University was an option, but I decided that option wasn't for me. But in my head then, I'd got an A in my media studies exam, and so that was kind of my passion, and I'd always wanted to work in television production. So me having my daughter, I didn't want that to stop me from reaching my full potential. It was actually the reason that I've done everything that I do today, because it gave me the fire that I needed in my belly to succeed. And a lot of people, like, you'll probably come across it at school now, you get pigeonholed and you kind of stereotypes put against you. And I had a lot of stereotypes from being such a young mum, but instead of kind of taking that on board and kind of letting it get to me, that was the fire in my belly to succeed. So I left sixth form, decided I wanted to go into television production. I went up to London with my CV, just walked around Soho and handed it into post-production houses, and I struggled to get a job up there because there was two things going against me. And I know employers shouldn't discriminate, but they did back then, probably more so than now. And eventually I got a phone call back from one of the companies that I visited saying, we'd like to offer you the job. So my first proper job post-school was working in post-production on programs like The Apprentice, Big Brother, MTV Base, which I think it's a channel now, but it used to be there used to be a show called The Lick. So how it worked was you had the post-production house and you had about 20 different rooms. So essentially I was a tea girl. So people would have a phone, they'd ring me and they'd say, like, we'd like lunch, we'd like dinner, whatever. Now on paper you kind of think, well, what does that achieve? But actually it was the best thing ever, because you learn how to communicate with so many different people and you build your network. So that was a stepping stone onto my next job, which I then decided I wanted to go into production, TV production, rather than the post-production element of it. So I went and worked on Big Brother, which was probably, Big Brother then was to you guys what Love Island is now. So for me, it was really, really cool. After that, I realised that I'd kind of been trying to prove a point too much, and I wasn't spending enough time at home with my daughter. So I then got a job, a 9 till 5, doing talent management. So you guys probably don't know who they are, but I used to look after So Solid Crew and Blazing Squad, which at the time was probably, I thought, the coolest job in the world. But again, that wasn't sustainable. So I decided to come back to Ipswich. I never physically moved to London, but I was like, literally, I'd get up in the morning at 6 a.m, go up there, sometimes work until 1 in the morning. So my life was just mad. So I came back to Ipswich, and it was really hard to transition from kind of doing that job to coming back to get an office job. And also what I did find was a lot of people invited me in for interviews just to find out the gossip from TV shows, which was funny. But at the end of the day, when you've got bills to pay, you just want a job. I then got into recruitment, so completely different. But again, it's the people skills. It's growing your network of employers, to try and place different people in these roles. So I worked in recruitment until about 4 years ago. 6 years ago. I worked in that, built my network, placed people in jobs, and it was a really satisfying job. The sales part was harsh because you cold call people, and people are very quick to hang up the phone on you. But actually, when you make a difference and place someone in a job that they love, it's a really nice feeling. But I realised I didn't like it completely. I'd got kind of done my time, and I decided that I could use my skill set elsewhere, and the majority of my work was in construction. So I then went to a construction company and did their business development, and what that is me sourcing opportunities for them. So when you've got a housing site or a commercial building or a school, there's an element called the groundworks, which is everything that you can't see, which holds everything together. So I'd basically go out on behalf of this company and speak to big housing developers and source some work. They'd price it, win it, and that's how it went. So they went under, not due to my business development, and that was a real turning point in my life, because I was on a really good salary. I got offered another really good job, but I thought, no, this is my time to go on my own. So I started a company called Friel Consulting, which was a business development agency, which essentially I just connected people. And off the back of that, I think my life has changed dramatically and for the better over the past few years. So I started the marketing agency. So what we do is we run social media. So we run businesses' social medias for them. We do design works, we do graphic design, and lots of different elements as well, like marketing strategies, run events. So it's really, really good. Now, my qualifications aren't in that, but I've got a team, like I kind of oversee, and I've got a team that delivers the more detailed stuff for me. But I think that's the biggest thing, just go with your gut and do something you enjoy. And I think the beauty of what your generation has now is that when I was at school, the career I'm in now didn't even exist. And with things like TikTok, you're more of an expert in TikTok than I can ever be. We've got 2 apprentices starting with us in September, and they're going to be taking that element of things on board. But yeah, so that is my career to date. But it's just, as long as you're not hurting anyone and you love what you do, I'd just say carry on doing it, because where the opportunities that have arisen from just having a bit of self-belief and also talking to people have been insane over the past few years. With the television side of things, I had an idea, and this is the thing as well, throughout your career, always be kind to everyone, and always be yourself, because one of the moments in my career when I was in television, we had sniffer dogs because there was Fathers for Justice at the time, and they were doing all these pranks, and it was live television. So the sniffer dog went to the toilet in the studio, and they went across the radios, and they were like, is there anyone that can come and clear up the dog mess? And I was thinking, I don't want to do this, but actually if I do it, then I'll be remembered, so I'm going to do it. So it's little things like that. But even if you guys can get a part-time job now, like I first started working probably not legal now, I don't think, when I was 13. So I used to work as a waitress. Then in shops, and I think it was that thing of being able to talk to people, because if you can talk to people, you can achieve anything. But it's just, yeah, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and self-belief. If I could have the self-belief I have now at school, I'd be a lot further forward than I am now. And also your role models, if you look around you now, you've got Gymshark, the guy that established that, did it, I think at uni in a room, and it was just an idea he had, and now I think he's a billionaire now. And then also, if you do have any learning like dyslexia or anything like that, like, don't let it hold you back. See it as a superpower, because it is a superpower. It is that thing that you can see things differently to other people, and you might have better ideas than them because you see it from a different angle. But yeah, no, I just think that there's so many opportunities out there now that you can be paving your career. You can even start your career while you're at school now. Through the power of the internet, anything is possible. And also the connections you can make online through talking to businesses, etc. Yeah, are unreal.
Claire, thank you so much. And some of the things that I've taken from that is definitely around be kind, be humble. You never know when you're going to then bump into someone again in your career. So huge thank you. We're going to bring on Scott now, just talk a little bit more about his career, and then we're going to feed back some questions towards the end. So Scott, over to you.
Hey, hi, good morning. Do you know what? I knew I was doing a presentation to you guys this morning, and I thought, I'm going to take the day off. I'm sitting in my camper van. You can see here, guys. This is a 1964 camper van, which I adore, and it's my workplace today. And it means that I can take the day off. I can go paddleboarding later on, and I'm not going to go to work. And the reason why I say that, guys, is that I've probably never worked a day in my life because I really enjoy the job that I do. And if you really enjoy the job that you do, then it isn't really work. So I know Claire, and I was inspired by listening to Claire there. She's a really dynamic businesswoman, and to what she's achieved in that amount of time is amazing. So honestly, look her up, follow her on the social channels. But I think some of the advice there is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And what resonated with me is the fact that there's nothing holding back you guys from setting up your own business. The internet now, social media platforms, it allows you to promote your products and services to people that I would have paid tens of thousands of pounds to over the 30 years that I've been running my business. And it inspires me when I see a young YouTuber that has more views than the BBC. Madness. So there's never been a better time to think about running your own business. You are your own boss. You don't need to prove to your boss what your exams are. You don't need to prove to your boss. You are your boss. So what I'm going to do, I've got about 9 minutes with you guys, so I could talk all day and bore you to death. But I'm going to tell you some stories about me. So I grew up in Essex. You can tell from my dulcet tones. And I founded my first business when I was 14, polishing cars. And we've all been there. I used to polish cars, and I loved cars. I really adored cars. I'd buy magazines of cars. I could name every car, the brake horsepower, when it was manufactured, and I loved it. And the first thing I did, guys, there was a little field at the back of where I lived, and I created my own little car show. So on a Sunday, I'd invite people to come to the field. People would park their cars. We had an open mic session where people could bring a guitar along. I'd do some displays of cleaning cars. I'd be cleaning wheels, and it grew and it grew and it grew. So by the time I was 16, I had this really cool little car show, and I was making money by charging a £5 pitch fee. And I loved it. I was an entrepreneur. I was running my own business, and I absolutely adored it. You probably couldn't do it now because of health and safety and insurance issues and so forth. But this was sort of 30 odd years ago. And I went into school, and I was so excited because I got to speak to my careers officer. And I was sitting there and I was saying, I love cars and, this is what I want to do for a career. And what they did is they pigeonholed me. They thought because I like cars, I wanted to be a mechanic. So the careers officer didn't probe me. He didn't ask me further questions. He just put up cars, must want to be a mechanic. Secondly, I left school when I was 16 with no exams at all. So over the years, I've always found that a real hindrance. And it's not held me back, but I've always been conscious of the fact that I don't have any exams to talk about. I don't have any thing to tell my children. I have 4 sons. And I got pigeonholed to becoming a car mechanic. And I think Claire mentioned, follow your heart. Do things that make you happy. But at your young age, you can stand up and you can say, no, I am going to be the next YouTube sensation. I am going to be the next broadcaster. I am going to create a business that will change the world. And you can. You can. So I work with quite a few people. I mentor quite a few people, and I work with young adults, and I work with young entrepreneurs. And people always say to me, Scott, there's no more great ideas out there. All the good ideas have been taken up. And I think absolutely rubbish. What I always say to people is doing good is good for business. So if you can create a business that does really cool stuff and helps people, and helps the planet, and helps with sustainability, you've got a really good opportunity to get this into the ether to create a business for yourself. So I'm going to give you an example. I was approached at the start of the summer by 2 young people. One was 15, one was 17. And they've come up with this really cool idea about cleaning beaches. They live in the southwest near Cornwall. And they've got this really cool idea where they are going to create these big jute bags, and they are going to go out on every other Sunday, and they're going to do a beach clearance. So nothing unusual about that, nothing cool or trendy about that. But what is amazing, what they did is they approached every business within the locality to say, would you like to sponsor the bag? And it was £100 a year. Now that was brilliant marketing, because what company within the vicinity of the beach wouldn't want to support a program that cleared the beach? Brilliant. Number one, fantastic. Then the cost. So the idea initially then was to get 10 subscriptions on the bag, 10 subscribers, and each company would pay £100. So that's £1,000 a year. And they sold out within 2 days. So then they realized, let's turn the bag the other way around, and let's get another 10 more sponsors of the beachcombing project. So now they've got 20 sponsors per year, £2,000 a year coming in as income. Brilliant, fantastic. But you can only clean one beach, can't you? No, you can't. This project now is working on 3, 4, 5, 6 beaches. If they can get half the population involved in this project, that's 30 million people cleaning beaches up. That means we're going to have the cleanest beaches in the UK, in the world. And these guys are promoting great sustainability. Wow. Did that come from the Harvard School of Business? Did that come from some degree, master's, professor? No. It comes from a couple of cool guys who surfed in Cornwall. So I tell you what, chaps, ladies, everybody in there is so many brilliant opportunities to run your own business. So I have built and sold 5 companies, totaling just over 50 million quid. What does 50 million pounds look like? It's a huge chunk of cash, but it's not all yours. Let me tell you that now. Your investors get the majority of that money. The HMRC, revenues and customs, they get a lot of that money, and you're left with a portion of that money to then reinvest in other companies. So I have the most amazing coffee company called Paddy and Scott's, and we grow coffee in Kenya. We have our own farm, and we work with amazing families. And I got really annoyed a few years back because I didn't realize how little the farmer got for growing his crop. I didn't realize that. I bought my coffee and I sold it in our coffee shops and our bars and restaurants around the UK. And I didn't know how little they got. And I tell you now, guys, if you walk into one of our coffee shops, you'll pay about £2.70 for a coffee. You'd never believe how little the farmer got or gets. So the farmer gets roughly about 2 cents. That's 2 American cents. That's about a penny and a half for that cup of coffee. And something wasn't right. Something didn't resonate with me. I felt bad about selling that coffee. So the whole idea of Paddy and Scott's is to create doing good is good for business. And what we wanted to do is create a system, a supply chain, where the farmer was paid a proportion of the money that the consumer paid for their coffee. So if you're paying £2.70 for the coffee, why not give 20p of that to the farmer? And what we'll do, we'll make sure that money is used to create schools, food projects. We'll make sure that money's being used to create a sustainable environment. Doing good is good for business. When I arrived, the Ryuga school had 40 children in a little tiki hut with no running water. 3 years later, our school looks after 526 children. We feed them 3 times a day. We've now including a water feed, new toilet blocks, new food facilities. And I've got my first 2 children going through to university in Nairobi. Hey guys, this isn't a job. This is doing something that I love doing that does well in the world. So if only I could be in your classroom now, if only I could be sitting next to you, because what I want you to do, I want you to turn left and I want you to look at the person to your left. Is that the next Mark Zuckerberg? Turn it to the right, yeah? Is that the next amazing entrepreneur? Because your future is in your hands and it's never been a better time to go out there and change the world through business. Go out and do it.
Scott, thank you so much for that. And I think one of the key things that I'll take away from that is around doing good is good for business. And I think that is absolutely fantastic. So huge thank you for joining us. Now, we're going to bring Clare on and now we're going to fire some questions at both of you. Clare, I want to pick up on something that you mentioned earlier on around influencers. You know, how do you become an influencer? Yeah, over to you.
How you become an influencer? Well, you've got to be authentic, you've got to have a cause, and you've got to have an audience. So I think it depends what you want to become an influencer for. There's a lot of fitness influencers, but then there's a lot of people that have got real stories. So it's what resonates with other people as well. Like look at the millionaire like children. There's 7-year-olds in the world that are millionaires through getting sent toys to review, and there's a lady in Felixstowe who's got like 70,000 followers, and that was from just doing cleaning hacks in her house. So I think there is a science to it as well, as in once you get into it, post 5 times a day on your story, and then post once a day on your grid, no more, because your grid's your shop window, your story is what it says in the tin, it's where you tell your story. So yeah, there's no winning formula, but we coach our guys. I mean, one of them, you guys might know Jonathan McVeigh, he's a Scottish influencer. So he only started his accounts at the beginning of the first lockdown. And I think we're up to 80,000 followers with him. But also to monetize it, when we first started out, like I've learned loads since Sophie and myself started the business, because it looks like he's got loads of followers, which he has, but his audience is 85% female. So ASOS would think twice about giving him an outfit to wear, because are the girls going to buy it? They might buy it for their boyfriends because they want them to be him. But it is, yeah, there's a lot more to it and having an audience. Like a lot of people buy followers, and it is horrific because it's all about your engagement. It's better to have less followers and more engagement than have all these followers, because it's almost like being on the stage and talking into an empty room.
Definitely. Clare, thank you so much. And another question we've had in. So where does your drive come from? Is it something you can develop?
Who's that directed at?
Scott, let's go for you, as you've picked up on that.
Hey, look, guys, I love doing what I do. So my drive is there every day. And, you know, I jokingly said, I'm going to go paddleboarding today. I'm not going to work today. I'm going to go paddleboarding. And that makes me so inspired because I've created a business that allows me just to take the day off impromptu. And that is something that really inspires me. That drives me. And that gives me the flexibility to know that I can do it. And the chances are 9 times out of 10, guys, I don't do it. I do go to work every day and I work every day. But having that flexibility to do what I want to do without having to talk to my boss gives me my drive. But again, you need to work out what drives you. One person said to me very once that success is not measured by the size of your wallet, but the stamps in your passport. And I just think that, wow, you know, so let's do some traveling. Let's get inspired.
Good
I
stuff.
post ideas of businesses, guys. Post them. Come and see me. There's millions of great ideas, and I'll help you become a millionaire. I'll take a small 10% share. That's all I want to do.
I think that's the thing, Scott, where we like. It's really interesting hearing you talk because I was almost institutionalized from like working for someone else. So even now, because I'm new to the world of running my own business, I feel really bad. So like when it's sunny, like half of me is like, yeah, let's go down the beach. But then I feel like I ring my team and I'm like, right, guys, it's sunny. Take the day off. Come with me, because then I don't feel so guilty. And then I'm like, but, yeah, get the work done. So I need to channel my inner Scott.
I like your style, though.
What Clare, sorry to talk over you. What Clare needs to do there is the fact that, you know, she feels empowered to leave the business run by her team. The team will feel much happier. They don't like the boss in the room sometimes. They're always a little bit on edge, whether you realise it or not. And the fact that you've created a business, Clare, that allows you to do that, they'll want to perform if you're not there. So don't feel you have to be a slave to a desk. You don't have to be. And you're giving your team the opportunity to run it for you is empowering. There's one here. Did you manage to get? Can I answer that just quickly? Do you mind? Because
yeah, go for it.
you know, I met some people 3 weeks ago at a boot market, and they went to a boot market in Suffolk, and they made 300 quid, and that 300 quid they're reinvesting in another more product, and now they've got this really cool little product where they're selling. So you don't need to raise money. Forget all that. It really frustrates me when people think you have to go to seed financing, you have to raise 100 grand, 50 grand, 10 grand. All you do then, guys, you create debt. That debt has to be paid back. The control is no longer with you. And what they'll do is they'll churn and burn you until they can get the next one that's going to work. So make your business work first, and then when people approach you to invest, that's when you invest. But you can start your money by going to your banks, speaking to your parents, grandmothers, grandfathers, friends, family. These are the people that will back you, and be respectful for that money, reinvest that money, and you won't have to borrow money.
And I think for me, I started my business because yours is product led, isn't it? So there's more investment. For me, my business is time led, which was something to get my head around, as in with my business model, I can only earn as much as there is hours in the day, if that makes sense, because someone physically has to do the work. And now I have completely lost where I'm going with that. Yeah, so I started mine with nothing. It was quite scary because I had a mortgage and 2 kids. I still have a mortgage and 2 kids. I didn't get rid of them once I started the business. And so it is that thing of, okay, so if it's your time, it makes it a little bit easier. And that's why you guys are in such a strong position, because I'm guessing none of you have mortgages. So while you're debt free, go for it.
Yeah.
Good. And let's come to the next question. So what's been your biggest lesson? So Scott, I want to go to you for that one.
I've had 4 successful companies and 2 failures, and I've learned more from my failures than I have my successes. And I know that sounds a cliche, and you'll hear that all the time, guys, but I'm a really proud guy, and I don't want to admit to myself I've failed. So what I do, I keep pumping more time, more energy, more money into a business that isn't going to work. And sometimes you've got to say, I got it wrong. I'm going to cut the cord. And I did have a business that failed, and I paid every penny back. It was a recruitment company, actually, Claire. So, and it was in the travel industry. This was just before 9/11, when all the travel industry collapsed. So knowing when to bail out and not feel bad is the biggest lesson that I've learned in business. Claire.
My biggest lesson is to have no regrets. And one of my sayings is, if it's not a blessing, it's a lesson. So there's been really harsh things that have happened during my career working for other people and just in life in general. And at the time, kind of now, if something happens, I just view it as a lesson. So the next time I'm more equipped, or I will not behave that way to someone else, or I'll be mindful of the impact of my actions. So it just is, everything's a positive, whether it seems like it or not at the time. And yeah, and also not caring what people think. I think people have, I'm massive on stereotypes because they played such a role in my younger years. And be who you're going to be. Like, I'm never going to wear a suit again. I remember, like, I'm so uncomfortable going to these corporate networking days and like putting myself in the, like, looking like a funeral director. And it's just like, I just wear Gymshark now. I turn up to meetings in Gymshark with some trainers on. And if anyone questions it, it's like, well, I could wear a suit and be rubbish at what I do, but this is who I am. And yeah, that's exactly how I operate.
So, good stuff. And coming on to the next question. So when did you know your businesses were a success? Claire, I'll stick with you on that one, and then we'll head over to Scott.
I'm still waiting to hear. No, I realised my business was a success when I had a team of people around me who share the same values as me and who enjoy coming to work every day, and also the impact that I've had or the business has had on other people. And going back to what Scott said about money, I think people have this vision of like, you must have loads of money because you've got a business. I don't have a lot of money. I have a nice life and I reinvest my money into the business because for short term, I'm happy to take that hit. But I know in the future, my biggest thing is I want to travel. Like, my daughter's now 18 that I had when I was at school. And the one thing that played on my mind when I found out I was expecting her was, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to travel. I've traveled like on and off over the years, but never gone on that big holiday. So maybe my thing is, once I get to go traveling with my daughter, I'll know that it's been a success.
Nice. And over to you, Scott.
I bought a Porsche car. I loved it. It was a convertible. I always wanted a Porsche car. And I just sold a business and I wanted to treat myself. I went to the car dealership, guys. And do you know when you walk in with a pair of jeans and a T-shirt and you think, right, the guy's not going to talk to me. The girl's going to look at me the wrong way. Anyway, I bought this car. So that's one thing. But secondly, I probably said to you I left school with no exams at all. And that's worried me over my life. I have 4 children and I promote education. But in 2018, I was made an honorary degree by the University of Suffolk. And there was me and Ed Sheeran that was getting our honorary degrees. And I felt I'd made it then when I'm sitting next to this really cool, this singer, and I'm in the same gowns and cap getting my honorary degree. So I think that's when I thought I probably deserved that.
Good stuff. And next question. So where can I get support from starting up my own business? Who do I go to for advice? Scott, I'll stick with you on that one, then we'll head to Claire.
Well, there's lots of people that you can reach out to. There's the university is always a good place to start. Go and knock on doors of businesses that you're inspired by. You know, I think Claire mentioned in the early days that she just knocked on doors and she went to the post-production houses. Walk into a coffee shop, say, look, I'm really inspired by what you're doing. Is there anything I can do? Can I help you? I just need some advice. Reach out to people on social media. I don't know whether you're 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. So you don't worry about age being a barrier for getting advice, but just be careful what you do. Obviously, social media has got a very dark side as well. So just be brave. And the more people you reach out to, the more people that would help you. But yeah, I can't give you a website or anything like that.
And Claire, what about your advice? And then we'll round up after that.
I'd say what Scott said about social media. I mean, LinkedIn, you're probably, well, Facebook, I think that's kind of not cool anymore, but you're probably all on Instagram. There's a business networking site called LinkedIn. So depending what kind of business you want to start, but it is essentially Facebook for business. And if you can get yourself on there, get a profile up and then follow the people that you aspire to be or your role models on there. And the chances are if you engage with their content on there, they'll be happy to have a chat with you. Also, this isn't a shameless pun, by the way, it's just because we've got it. We did a talk for West Suffolk College on how to set up your LinkedIn, etc. So if anyone wants any advice on that, feel free to to reach out. But I'd also say surround yourself with other business owners. And one of my biggest sayings is your vibe attracts your tribe. So if you put your vibe out there, you'll attract the right people for your journey. And you don't need to have like a finance expert. Yes, you do, but yeah, just go out there and grow your network with like-minded people. Because one of my biggest champions, and I'm her champion, so the lady that I run the Vida with, we're also direct competitors in marketing. We've got exactly the same businesses, but we met at the gym, had a laugh. Then last lockdown, our businesses were born together. So don't see, if someone's doing the same thing as what you want to do, don't see that as a reason to not approach them. And if they won't help you, then that's their issue, not yours.
Folks, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for the advice you've given. Just amazing keynotes. The advice over the questions have been phenomenal. I've learned lots. Lord knows what the students have definitely learned, in which case. I think two key things that I'm taking from this, Claire, you talked about being humble, making sure that you're nice to everyone throughout your career. And there is going to be a lot of gritted teeth moments when you don't want to do that. But that is so vital, especially when you're sort of early stage of your career. And Scott, similarly, around doing good is good for business, and that if you can give something back in the community and that you really enjoy what you do, as you say, you'll never work a day in your life. So folks, huge thank you for joining us for this keynote address on enterprise.
Thank you.
Cheers guys, see you later, take care.
Bye.
Cheers, bye folks.